Hello, beautiful souls. Samantha here
Hello, beautiful beings of light. Maria here.
from Branches of Vibrational Healing.
Yes. So
This,
we're just gonna
go ahead.
you go.
Just kidding. So this video is going to be about the moon. Um, Last year, I believe it was, I started doing moon readings, or a year ago, or a year and a half ago, whatever. And I started to feel the energy of the moon shift when I would connect to it. So Maria and I had a few conversations when I was in Arizona and other times around the energy of the moon and astrology and all of that. And all I'm going to say around this is when you're going to connect with the energy of the moon, set the intention to connect with the divine energy of the moon, the divine essence of the moon. Because when I was doing these monthly readings, when I was just connecting to the moon's energy, it was like I was feeling these different shifts. The messages were a little bit, I don't want to say darker, but there was a different energy to them. And when I was like, wait, so I would stop doing them and I like couldn't, it was draining me. So I was like, how do I do this? And they like call in the divine moon. And when I did, it was flowing, it was empowering messages. The energy was different. So I
Mm,
shared this with Maria, and she's had quite a few epiphanies we would like to share with you all.
yeah.
So, and use this, whatever you pick up from this that resonates, take that. Anything else, you don't have to.
hmm This is just our perspectives and understandings based on how we remember these kinds of things that are dropped into us. I love that you brought up the calling in the divine energy. Feel like do that with anything that you're calling on the energy of, right? Because it kind of goes back to my theory of everything was created from source, right? So everything down here on this earth plane, whether or not it was man-made or not, there is an aspect of source energy in it, right? Because that's the original creator. So how could it not have an aspect of source in it? So just like the moon, hang on one second. I have to let my dog out. So hold on. All right. Okay, so we're back. Sorry, I had to let my dog out. Anywho, so what I was saying is yes, source creator energy, the divine, that high vibration is in some way, shape, or form in everything down here, whether it was man-made or not. That's my perspective, sticking to it. So with that said, same thing with the moon. When Sam was doing those readings last year, it was funny because collectively on social media, I saw, sensed, heard, no, there was this narrative going around that the moon is fake, it's man-made, it's a trap, it's trapping souls in it. So I feel like when you were doing those readings, you were picking up on that narrative. Because then there was all this like fear around the moon. And I was like, all right, I gotta sit with all this. Like, what is all this about? Like, the ancients really used the moon and the stars and the galaxy, right, to be one with the earth, right? There's so much truth with all of that. And I'm like, so if it's all man-made, if we're all just in this dome and it's all fake, like then how do you explain that, right? So I go through these phases of like just questioning, like, all right, just show me the higher perspective. How am I supposed to understand this? And then it happened just like a few weeks ago. All of a sudden, we're driving and the word lunacy, I heard the word lunacy and lunar. And like lunacy, we use that for when or lunatic, people are crazy, right? And I'm like, oh my God, lunar. Like, and think about, so it was just like all of a sudden this like download or this remembering of information. It's like, yes, the moon is really just a depiction of the ego. It's a physical representation of the egoic structure. That's why when there was that narrative of like souls are getting stuck in the moon, like it's just the ego. Again, it's just like how when we're on the earth plane and we think like souls are getting stuck, and it's like no, it's like these egoic personas that are created in this earth plane that are quote unquote stuck. They're not stuck, they're just where they are, kind of thing. So the moon, it was just like I was seeing, I'm like, oh my God. So that's why when it's a full moon, everybody's emotions or thoughts are really amped up. And that's where we get that kind of narrative of like, oh my God, everybody's crazy on a full moon. It's because our egos are basically like super illuminated. And I was like, oh my God, that is wild. That is such a wild like representation of it, but it made so much sense to me. And it was like, I'm now, when I look at the moon and see it when it's really full, I actually talk to my ego through it. It's so weird. But it's like I'm seeing
Is
it.
it
I'm
weird?
seeing
Is
it weird? It's really not. Like, is it weird though? I'm like, oh, hey, ego. I see you, girl. I see you, boy. Oh, look how bright and shiny you are up there, illuminating
just
the dark
lighting up the
sky.
darkness. Look at you.
So I was like, wow, that is fucking wild. So I told Sam that while she was here. And then I had like another realization like yesterday. I don't know if I was coming out of sleep or like just falling to sleep, but it was like showing me how, yeah, remember how like the moon, it's really just reflecting the light of the sun. It's not even really its own light in a sense. It's like it's a reflection of it. It's a reflection of the divine. And I'm like, oh my God, another way of seeing that it's the ego, right? It's like how we say our egoic personas are not who we are, but they are an aspect of who we are, right? Like they're one minute aspect of all of the different personas we've come and played in. So
Mhm.
it was just cool to have that sort of epiphany about the moon and look at it from that perspective and like kind of just look at it now as my ego and in another way, another light of like compassion, of being able to look at the ego with compassion and not bashing the ego like we tend to do sometimes because it's loud.
Yeah.
It's there for a reason.
And some places, like where I live, it's dark longer now and they keep changing the times.
Yep.
But it's to this came up earlier. It was like this, I mean, duh moment, but it's like to keep us more in the ego to because we need sunlight, we need vitamin D, like we need it, like our bodies
Yes.
need it.
Yep.
So for a sleep wake cycle, digest everything, like just go down the rabbit hole of vitamin D. Okay, it's the sun. And there was this journey I took during shamanism that when I was doing those moon readings, I was brought back to and remembered. And I went up into wherever and I was brought to the moon. And I'm like, oh, I'm on the moon. That's cool. And I like, I was guided to like lift this door like a bulkhead. And I remember like opening it and walking down into the moon. And I'm like, oh, where am I? And there was this long pool in there. And it was like a racing
Like
pool, like a long skinny
An
one.
Olympic,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm looking and I'm like, what is this? And there was all of these like things I could see through the water. So I was like, oh, let me go in the water. So I went into the water and I'm swimming. And then like there was this small little chute. So I went through the chute because you can do anything in your mind's eye. And I come out and there's all of this. I thought it was like cheese or like corn or like buttered popcorn or like yellow like foam. I didn't know what it was. I was like, what is this? And I'm just kind of like bouncing around through it. And I'm like, am I still in the moon? And they're like, yeah. And I didn't understand it at the time. I just wrote it out and I was like, I'm definitely not sharing this journey with anyone because I don't understand it. But when I was doing the moon readings, it all clicked. And it was like, play on your emotions, the pool, the swimming. You went through the tunnel up into your solar plexus, taking your fire, taking your power. So there's this, we are so focused on the moon that sometimes we love when it's sunny out, but we complain when it's raining and when it's cloudy. The sun's still out, guys. But when we focus on the moon, and I've done it, right? Have ceremonies around the moon. Let's do this. Let's manifest around the moon. Not saying not do it,
Right.
but we all focus on the moon. There's a hyper focus on the moon, and it's for a reason. And I don't
Just
want
like there's a hyper focus on our ego.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing.
Yes. So I don't want to say like it's a trap, because
Right.
we all hold the key, but there's another agenda behind the
go.
moon. And I learned from doing the moon readings and then seeing that journey, and then Maria and I sharing stories, that since we are the creators of our reality, um, the moon is in a sense a way for us to be controlled even more.
Mm.
Um, and it's something that I feel like why we don't fully resonate with astrology readings. I don't think that astrology is wrong. I don't understand that world. I appreciate people that learn about it, but it's the moon focus and the solar system and the sun that I feel has been very manipulated and isn't even the truth
Mhm.
of like our divine essence. Um, so yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
No, I
Because
love
I was
it.
shown the moon, and then what's that song? I've literally sung it my whole life.
Oh,
If you
REM.
believe, yeah.
They put 'em
If
in. Which
on the
you
moon.
all know that that's fake
Yeah.
too, if you
Mhm.
don't look that up. The
Yeah.
landing on the moon. That was all Hollywooded up for you.
Yeah. So my journey to the moon, which is just coming in, it wasn't just universal journey. My journey to the moon was you have to learn to go deep into your emotions to see where your power is
Oh
is
my
being.
God, that's why you went into the moon.
Yes. My whole solar plexus is on fire right now as I'm talking about this. And
Look at how
that's
I'm
why
like
it was
having
like,
like another, I'm like, oh my, because I'm literally seeing you like dropping into the moon. And it's like, that's basically what you're doing with your shadow work. You're dropping
yes,
into your ego.
to find your
But
power.
exactly.
And I thought it was like cheese, right? Or corn
I can see it.
or yellow foam, right? And I don't do well with a lot of dairy. Some cheese I can eat. This might be a fetch, but corn has also been something that's manipulated. Um,
Mhm.
it's not bad, but how it's grown, it's been manipulated to keep us in a lower vibe. So a cool exercise you guys could do is take some deep breaths, drop into your heart, and be a little crazy and allow yourself to travel to the moon.
I
Go
love it.
go to your moon and see if you walk around it. See, bring a drill with you, bring a knife, bring some crystals, whatever you want. It's your friggin' moon.
Right.
And then however you're guided to be on your moon, learn from there, write it out. Like that's your moon ceremony.
Boom.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my God, I love it.
the other thing they're saying you just have to share this point. Before I knew about the people being trapped in the moon, all that, um, I was shown people when they're passing, because you know how it's like you see the light and when you die, I was
Mm.
shown that because we have learned to be so hyper focused on the moon, when we pass, there is a light, but it's really just we're leaving our that vessel, which is more
And
dense, right?
turning into our light, like
Yep.
literally.
And there is this gap that comes in where it's like this light of ascension going into our light that because we've been so focused on the moon, it's like the moon now it comes in as this. That's why people have this belief that there's a trap of the moon.
Mhm.
And so I forget what it was, but like over time, you're in this light, more of your essence, shorter now before you get this visualization of the moon coming in. Like back in ego, let's be recycled. Verse stay in your light, choose where you want to go next. So I'm not saying any of you are dying soon, but just kind of, we're just dropping that seed out there that when you pass, know that there's a choice. You're not just immediately recycled. You're going into your light. You choose your light
Mhm.
every day when you're alive. You choose your light. So
Mhm.
take a journey to your moon.
Mhm. And we'll definitely do a different video on go into a little bit more about soul retrieval because that's where this
Mhm.
conversation can go, but that can go for a little while. And we wanted to kind of just keep this a short little moon segment for you. So stay tuned for more chat about incarnation, reincarnation, soul retrieval, what actually happens when we die, kind of type of thing.
Yep.
Good
We
stuff.
love you guys. And if you love this video, please hit like, share, and subscribe.
Love ya.